Hello everyone! For today's video, we're going to explore the three models of communication. These are the linear model, interactive model, and the transactional model of communication. I hope you watch our video until the end. And simple favor to share our video if you love it. Also to subscribe my YouTube channel to receive the latest uploads. This presentation is made by Group 6 from Grade 11 Rockwell at Starland International School. Let's define what is linear model of communication. It is a simple way to understand how communication works. In this model, the message goes in one direction, from the sender to the receiver, without any feedback from the receiver.
So let's break down the Berlos communication model. It was designed by David Berlos in 1960 and it references the SMCR model, which stands for source, message, channel, and receiver. Firstly, the source is the person or entity sending or curating the message. Their skills, their knowledge, their attitudes affect the way the message is being curated or received. Then we have the channel. The channel is basically the way the message is being perceived. It could be written, it could be verbal, it could be nonverbal, it could be through a TV, etc. Finally, we have the receiver. The receiver is the person who is receiving the message and hearing it. Just like the source, their social backgrounds, their attitudes, and their knowledge play a vital role in the understanding. To conclude, Berlos' model shows us how effective communication depends on both ends, the sender and the receiver. And understanding these four elements can help us be more proficient in communication.
I'm going to be talking about Shannon model, a communication model that was proposed by the mathematician Claude Shannon and scientist Warren Weaver in the late 1940s. And it consists of 6 essential parts: the sender, encoder, channel, decoder, receiver, and feedback. This model was intended for telephone calls. However, if we were to apply this to a face-to-face conversation, the concept noise is added to the picture. Sender is where the information comes from. It can be a person, an object, or anything at all. Now, the encoder or transmitter is the process whereby the idea or information is converted into verbal or non-verbal language, meaning sign language. Moreover, the channel, to put in simple words, is where the message passes through. This can be an infrastructure or any of the 5 senses of our body. And this is also where the concept noise plays its part. Moving on, the decoder or reception is the opposite of encoding, which I mentioned a while ago. Since this is about understanding or interpreting the message encoded by the sender. If you apply the usage of telephones, the device will decode the binary digits into the message. Receiver, supposedly the end of the original Shannon-Weaver's model, because it is when the person gets the information. So here is the other one that I was talking about a while ago. Feedback. It was proposed by Norbert Wiener because of how the model is made to be a one-way process. Well, I agree with him because conversing with someone is like a cycle. It can't just go one way. Like, say I'm conversing with my mom and I just say that mom this, that. So, like, what will I get in return? Wouldn't that just be like talking to the wall? So, yeah, I understand what it means. So, yeah.
Among various communication models, the interactive model stands out for its emphasis on feedback, highlighting a dynamic and a two-way exchange between the sender and the receiver. This model reflects how modern communication works, allowing for real-time responses and continuous interaction.
Ever wonder how communication really works? It's not just about talking, and there's a whole cycle happening. And today, we'll break it down with the Wesley MacLean's interactive communication model. This is the gatekeeper, like an editor, producer, or even your own brain, deciding what's important. The gatekeeper receiver filters the message before sending it to you. Then finally, the message reaches you, the audience. But it doesn't stop there. You give a feedback, maybe like a comment or even just a facial expression. So let's start with the person A. They see or hear something, a news event, a tweet, or just someone running by with a coffee spilling everywhere. This is what we call the event. Now A decides to send a message based on that event. But here's the twist. Before it gets to you, someone else steps in. Then that feedback goes back to A, which changes how they respond next time. It's a cycle, a loop of interaction. That's why it's called an interactive model. Because communication isn't just a one-way, it's constantly evolving. So, the next time you're scrolling through your feed or chatting with a friend, remember you are part of the cycle. Wesley and McLean's model shows us that communication is always moving, always interactive, and it's shaped by all of us. Pretty cool, right? Now go out of here and keep the conversation going.
Now we're going to explore the circular model of communication developed by Charles E. Osgood and Wilbur Schramm. We'll also see how this model fits within the interactive model of communication. Osgood-Schramm's circular model emphasizes that communication is not a one-way process but a continuous loop. Here's how the model works. In the model, both participants are both encoders and decoders. For instance, one person encodes a message into symbols or words. The other person decodes it to understand the meaning. Each participant alternates between these roles. The message is the central element of the communication. It travels from one participant to the other, carrying the encoded information. Feedback is a critical component. After receiving the message, the receiver sends back feedback to the sender. The feedback helps the sender understand how the message was interpreted and adjust if necessary. The field of experience represents the shared context and backgrounds between the participants, which influences how messages are encoded and decoded. Let's use a practical example to illustrate these models. Imagine Alex and Jamie are planning a team meeting. Alex says, "I think we should schedule the meeting for next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Alex encodes this suggestion and sends it to Jamie. Jamie receives the message and decodes it, understanding Alex's proposed time for the meeting. Jamie, Tuesday at 10 a.m. might conflict with another meeting I have. How about we meet on Wednesday instead? Jamie encodes his feedback and sends it to Alex. Alex receives Jamie's feedback, decodes it, and considers the scheduling conflict. Alex responds, "Wednesday works for me. Let's schedule the meeting for 11 a.m. instead." Alex responds, incorporates Jamie's feedback, showing the circular nature of their conversation. Jamie received the updated time, decodes it, and confirms 11 a.m. on Wednesday is perfect. I'll send out the updated invite. This continues the circular exchange, which affects how they interpret and respond to messages. When we integrate these models with our example, we see Osgood-Schramm's model shows the continuous cyclical nature of communication, where Alex and Jamie keep exchanging roles and feedbacks. Both models highlight that Alex and Jamie switch between being senders and receivers, encoding and decoding messages. To sum up, Osgood-Schramm's circular model and the interactive model together provide a comprehensive view of communication as a dynamic.
I'll be talking about transactional models. But first, what is transactional models? Transactional models refers to a communication framework where both senders and receivers are active participants in the exchange. Unlike linear models, where the communication is just one way, the transactional models emphasizes that communication is a continuous dynamic process. Both parties sends and receives messages, influencing each other, taking into account feedbacks, context, and noise, any interfaces. It highlights how communication is an ongoing reciprocal interaction rather than a simple transfer of information. We're going to be talking about one transactional model, which is the Dune and Good Night model. It's not good night, but it's a model. Model of communication is a transactional model that focuses on the dynamic and interactive nature of communication. It emphasizes that communication is an ongoing process that involves the exchange of messages between communicators where both influence are getting influenced. The model considers various factors including feedbacks, noise, context of communication, and environment which the interaction takes place. But girl, what are the key features in that model? Glad you asked, Granny, what are the key features? So we have number 1, ongoing process. Communication is a continuous and cannot be easily broken down into clear start and endpoints. We got number 2, mutual influence. Both communicators are stimuli senders and receivers constantly influencing each other. Number 3, context and environment. What is that? The surrounding and the situation affects the communication process. And we got feedback. Continuous feedbacks helps adjust and improve communication during the interaction. You may be saying words, but I don't understand one thing you're saying. Let me make it less boring and let me give you an example. Imagine a doctor and patient discussing a treatment plan. Doctor explains the treatment options while the patient is asking questions and expressing concerns. Think about that. The doctors adjust the explanation based on the patient's feedbacks, making the communication more dynamic and ongoing process. Based from the story I said, the interaction reflects on Dune and Good Night model, where the communication is not linear, but it's a constant exchange shaped by feedbacks. Oh, I get it now. It's just continuing. Alright, there you have it, guys. You heard it from my granny. Way easier explanation. It's a continuous conversation where senders and receivers are interacting with each other.
The Woods model of communication is built on reciprocity in communication that exists among the communicators. The notable components of the model are communicators, context, and encoding and decoding, noise, feedback, and field of experience. Implication of the Woods model. Interactive nature. The model illustrates that communication is not one way. It is interactive and requires participation from all involved, making it essential for developing mutual understanding. Adaptability. Since both sender and receiver can change roles and influence the conversation, the model shows the need for communicators to be adaptable, responding to the context and feedback as the interaction unfolds. Emphasis on relationship. The Woods model reinforced the idea that communication is fundamental to building and sustaining relationship. It emphasized the need for empathy and active listening to foster successful exchanges. In summary, the Woods model of communication represents a comprehensive transactional approach, highlighting the interdependence of communicators.
We hope this video helps you to understand the 3 models of communication. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos.